All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii February. Thank you so much for tuning in, being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, we're going to talk about how in the state of Tennessee, one black elected official, decided to wear traditional African garb while taking care of business for the people. And he was told he needed to either change or leave the premises. Yeah, we said that. I'm asking the question, should elected officials be allowed to wear, cultural garbs while they're handling government business? We'll have that conversation. Also, we check in with the wealth whisperer, Alicia Holmes, to give us some insight about her 5-day free online workshop that's building wealth and financial freedom for Black women and women of color. We'll have that conversation. And later on, the movie Till is being screened by the White House tomorrow. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Larry Walker to give us some indication of progress in race relations in America for the Biden administration. We'll have those conversations. And, of course, we want to hear from you. So stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii February. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, before we start, we want to invite you to make sure that you let all of your friends and family know that we are now streaming right now on Amazon News. So make sure you do your due diligence, letting them know that you can check us out on Fire TV right now. You can say, Alexa, play news from Black Star Network. And guess what? The culture will pop up, folks. We're on streaming on the platform 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this is an opportunity to continue to have conversations about Black America and the rest of the country in a big, big way. So just let your friends and family know that we are now streaming on Amazon News. All right, folks, we wanted to start with the set of conversations today with something that I think that we should talk about, which is, when is it appropriate for you to express your culture, express your history? Now, this is being discussed right now in the Tennessee state legislature because one Tennessee state representative decided to push the boundaries a little bit. The Tennessee House GOP had told State Representative Justin J. Pearson to explore a different career after wearing a dashiki on the House floor. Take a look at this, folks. This is interesting. They did not like the fact he's a freshman Democratic state representative, Justin Pearson. They told him that GOP, they run the state of Tennessee. There's the brother right there. They told him either get in line or leave his position because he wanted to express himself. He wanted to show he was for the culture. Now, he was a Route 100 honoree in 2022, and he wore the traditional West African garb in the chamber last week as he was being sworn in into the Tennessee General Assembly. According to the report, the GOP couldn't wait to comment on his attire, and shortly thereafter, he tweeted about it. Mr. Pearson, State Representative Pearson, tweeted about it. He said, quote, "We literally just got on the state floor, and already a white supremacist has attacked my wearing of my dashiki. Resistance and subversion to the status quo ought to make some people uncomfortable. Thank you to every Black ancestor who made this opportunity possible." Now, the Tennessee House GOP, they have put out a tweet as well in response to that situation. They replied, quote, "Referencing the bipartisan and unanimously approved rules for House decorum and dress attire is far from a racist attack. If you don't like rules, perhaps you should explore a different career opportunity. That's main purpose is not creating them." Ooh, there it is from the Tennessee House Republicans. Talking about his wearing a garb on the House floor for the state of Tennessee, folks. And it got me wondering, do you think the Tennessee GOP has a point? Or does State Representative Justin Pearson have a point? Pearson have a point? I want you to join me in a conversation. Post your comments as we're streaming right now live on YouTube, Facebook, Black Star Network. Post your comments in the chat, for folks, and let me know. Is Justin Pearson right on this one, or is this Tennessee GOP? Now, I know some of you. I already know some of you are already going to say, oh, no, the GOP, Tennessee. Nope, they're wrong. But I'm saying, let's think about this. Let's really think about this, because there are rules and regulations on what you can wear and what's not appropriate, right? And based on that, can we, and it's like you wearing certain garbs to your job. And I know some of us, we're really, really sticklers. So some of us may work as managers, supervisors, working in leadership roles at the job. What would you do? How would you advise? How would you handle this situation? Here's a man who wants to express himself, a man who is proud of who he is and where he came from. And he wants to show that. And he also wants to make a political statement. Is he in the wrong? Join us in the conversation. Would love to hear what folks have to say, and so much more. And let me give you some more. And as your responses are coming through, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about this story. So according to the Speaker of the House, named Cameron Sexton, the baseline is for men to wear a suit and tie, but as Speaker, he can change that rule. So when the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, was asked by a local news station there in Tennessee what he thought of it, he said, quote, "The House clerk has sent Representative Peterson the information he requested earlier today. During his historic tenure in the General Assembly, the late Louis DeBerry established a precedent for attire that remains in place today. Men must wear a coat and a tie if they wish to be recognized in committee or on the House floor. Ms. DeBerry would frequently address members violating this precedent and remind them of the requirement. The Speaker will continue to follow the precedent and the path established by Ms. DeBerry to honor her and her incredible legacy within our legislative body." I'm going to just let that sit right there. I want to get from you, crew. What do you think about this? All right, let me kick it off with my brother, Conscious Thought. Conscious Thought, thank you so much for checking in. Sir, you said this in response to the Tennessee GOP's attack regarding the wearing of the black representatives' wearing of the dashiki. I personally take offense to the mandatory wearing of a suit and tie. Okay. But it is the government. It is the business of the people, right? So should we be upset about the mandatory wearing of a suit and tie? Maybe it's not a suit and tie. Maybe it's a open shirt, unless there is some big moment. But government officials wear suit and ties. It's business. It's the business attire since you're handling the business of the people. All right, let me hear Conscious Thought, my guy. Thank you for checking in. Chris Big, you say any rule or law that's made that conflicts with the Constitution is invalid. Wow. However, the Constitution does not apply in the workplace as far as the Bill of Rights, right to privacy and expression, right? I got you. Okay. So, Chris, let me make sure I'm understanding you here. Are you saying that Pearson has the right to wear whatever he wants to wear? Are you saying that that's okay? I just want to make sure I'm getting some clarity from you, bro, so we can, continue that part of the discussion. But I think you're bringing up a valid point. Thank you so much. DeAndre checked in. DeAndre, my guy, you said, look, of course they didn't like that, Farajii. That's akin to a foreign invasion to them. It's not professional or appropriate attire to wear in their eyes. That's true. But if there are already ground rules to this, right? If there are already ground rules that have been established before that, Mr. Pearson got into office, shouldn't he be required to follow the rules? I'm just throwing some questions out there, folks, because I get it. But again, I'm going to go back to my initial point where some of us work in spaces where you can only wear certain type of things. There are dress codes. We got dress codes for school. We got dress codes in a lot of different places. So wouldn't you want your representative, and I'm just throwing this question out there, wouldn't you want your representative to dress appropriately because they're handling the business of the people? All right, let's go back to it. DeAndre, you also said, DeAndre, I appreciate you for pointing that out. My sister, Corinna, you can check her out on Fridays, folks. Corinna checked in and said, then why was Cinema in a T-shirt, jean jacket, vest, and tennis skirt? When was that? I may have missed that one. But Corinna, let me know, when did you see Cinema in that? And what was the context for that? Were they like handling, like what was going on for her to wear T-shirt, jean jacket, vest, and tennis skirt? I'm interested. Corinna, appreciate you, sis. Thank you for checking in. I mean, I think that this is the part of the conversation, folks. It's like Justin Pearson, if he was on it, like I said, about the Route 100, he's a young black man. So he's coming from a different place culturally. He's also coming from a different place, from a different generation, where now you have more young people who are looking to express themselves, push back against certain type of rules and regulations and boundaries. And we love it, but we also kind of cringe on it. I know some older black folks cringe on it. I want to hear from some of the older black folks, because I remember I have gone into spaces, right? For years, I would wear like a shirt and tie all the time in spaces because it was always told to me, and this is what I grew up thinking about, folks. It was always told when I was taking care of business, when we were doing any type of organized work, I would wear a suit and tie. And people were blown away because, you weren't walking around young people. And I was always say, well, you wear a suit and tie because I want them to see themselves as a certain way, more business, more professional. So I wore that not just because, I enjoyed wearing that, but I felt like it was also my duty to kind of reflect a different part of the culture that they weren't used to seeing. Because the whole idea is opposites attract. Opposites attract, right? So I wore that. But I understand that in this day and time, this generation is different. If you're coming from the hip hop space, right? Hip hop, they don't wear suit and ties. They wear open shirts. They wear, the women wear certain things, there's not always dresses. It's all, but it depends on the industry. It depends on the work that you do. Look, we got to take a quick pause. Conscious Thought, I see you responded. I want to share with you, share with folks what you had to say. And folks, let's continue the dialogue about this. Is State Representative Justin Pearson, is he wrong for wearing a dashiki on the House floor in the state of Tennessee, even though there are already rules and regulations on what men and women can wear while handling government business, while handling the people's business? Or should he be allowed to just wear whatever he wants to wear? I want to get your take on it. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, more of the conversation. Stay with us. We're just getting started here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about the case of State Representative Justin Pearson, who is a state representative in the state of Tennessee. He's a freshman representative, and he recently went on to the State House floor wearing a dashiki, and the Tennessee GOP leadership told him, can't do that, sir. Can't rock a dashiki on the state floor, on the House floor. You either do that or you change your career if you want to make that type of statement. Ouch. Now he says that he refuses to back down, and the Tennessee GOP leadership is saying, look, this is as a result of a bipartisan agreement on what to wear when handling the people's business, while handling government affairs. Who is to blame? Who is to change? Who is right and who is wrong in the situation? Folks, I want to hear from you. Post your comments in the chat as we have this discussion. And I think it opens up a conversation about a lot of things. One is about where we are right now. Justin Pearson is a young black male. He's coming out of the hip hop space. He's also coming out of the space of social justice and activism. Look at him. There you go. My man is rocking the dashiki. He's rocking the afro. So he's coming from a very, very pro-black Afrocentric space. And he's also an elected official. So can you be both? Can you walk the fine line of being for your people, representing for the culture, wearing certain garbs, or can you just acquiesce and say, you know what, I'm going to just go back down to a suit and tie? Should elected officials be allowed to wear traditional cultural garbs while handling the people's affairs? That's the big question I'm asking you, folks. All right, let me get back to you, Corinna, and hear what you got to say. Corinna, you said that you can't recall when Kristen Sinema wore that T-shirt and jean jacket, but she was in the big chair on the Senate floor with the T-shirt and jean jacket vest. She had on a tennis skirt when she gave the thumbs down to the minimum wage bill. I don't know what was going on with that, Corinna. I really don't know what happened. I didn't see that moment, but that sounds crazy. That just sounds crazy to me. So I'm not sure what was going on. If anyone else in the crew knows about that moment, please let me know, because that just sounds wild. That she's voting and all of that in this. I don't know. And here's the thing, folks. Do you want your government official? And again, I'm not talking about if they're out in the community. I'm not talking about if they're, part of some type of gathering, some type of parade or something. I'm talking about handling the business in the State House, in the White House. Would you want your government officials to wear whatever they want to wear, or do you want them to come to the State House, to the White House, in a very professional, quote unquote, professional manner? Or does it doesn't matter to you? Janelle, my sister, you say Sinema wears the wildest stuff all the time. During orientation, there was probably a discussion about dress code. If so, then he was being defiant and inappropriate. If not, then no. Well, you don't know. I don't know. And that's a great point. You don't know whether he was told this beforehand and he was like, all right, bump it. I'm just going to wear what I want to wear. Or it was like he never seen the rules and regulations and thought. But here's the thing, though. He's not slow. You know what I mean? Like when you wearing dashikis, when you wear any type of cultural garb, especially as black elected officials, you know it's going to ruffle some feathers. You know what I'm saying? People have literally died for less. You know what I mean? So you know that, and I'm not saying that to to throw shade on the brother. I'm just making a point that he knew that it was, whether it's appropriate or not. It's a political statement. It's always been a political statement. How many times have we seen any elected official, community organizers, activists, some of our great heroes and sheroes who have come and stepped up in government places with full garb on? From, Black Panthers, they used to come into without talking about the guns. They had the leather jackets and the berets, and that was a revolutionary style. That was the attire at that moment, right? And that was like to let folks know, like, this is who we are. What you wear speaks volumes about how you think and who you are. So it's a great point, Janelle. We may not know the answers to whether he knew before or after, but it's a great point. Thank you for checking in. Janae checked in. You said, just imagine if someone wore locks, they would ban that person too. It's beyond ridiculous. The GOP is trash. Yeah, I probably wouldn't get in, Janae. They look at me like, what's your name? Muhammad. And you wear, oh, no, sir. No, sir. I'll be like, I'm here to testify. From home, we'll bring you on a virtual chat. Yeah, pretty much. It could be. But again, here's the thing. Do we want to push the emphasis? Do we really want to, is that something that we should be calling for to change? And again, I know that there are older folks who are like, no, that's not appropriate. We could be pro-Black, but you can still wear a suit and tie. I know there is. Tiana, Janae, thank you so much. Tiana, you checked in and said, look, I'm so sick of the culture wars. State Representative Pearson should be able to wear a dashiki. Boom, it is. There it is. Danny Lee, you checked in. You said dashikis can be worn formally. I do have a comment about Representative Camper. I'm not sure why she was defending and standing with GOP traditions. That is why we can't move forward. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure either. Great point though. Keenan, my man, Keenan got the. Keenan, let's show the photo of Kristen Sinema wearing with the thumbs down. If we can pull that one up for bro. There we go. I don't know what the hell is going on there. What is that? What is she doing? Kristen Sinema, boy, she a special individual, folks. That's all I can say. I don't know what is going on. I really don't know what is going on. It looks like she just stopped by after like running some errands or something. I'm not sure what is going on here. Hey, Corinna, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on with that. It doesn't look like there was a major decision, like there was a huge vote on the floor the way it's set up, but I can't tell. I cannot tell. But even that, the fact is, it's still got people talking, right? Because it's not considered to be the normal, appropriate thing. If somebody took a picture of her wearing that stuff with her thumbs down, it's still the point of she's kind of out of order. Pauline, you checked in. Good to hear from you. You said, why don't they stick to the people's business and stop worrying about what we are wearing? Well, again, I'm asking folks, if you saw, and I get it, I'm posing questions for both sides, right? Because I'm gonna be honest, like I'm just trying to think, like, okay, do I want my representatives to wear t-shirt and jeans, right? And it's fine. Like, there's always the talk about representation, but when you are a public official, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing your constituents. And especially for Black elected officials, I hope Black folks understand this. I hope we all understand it. Like, Black folks, we have a different standard. Folks, let's get out of our minds that we get so shocked that there's a double standard. Like, we've been in this country for over 400 plus years. Of course, there's a double standard. Y'all gonna make me shake my locks looking crazy. Of course, there's a double standard, folks. But here's the other thing. Are you just representing yourself, or are you representing the best of your constituents? And what does the best of your constituents look like? There we go. Sister Karen, my sister Karen, you checked in and said, I love cultural dress. However, when you are employed and paid by someone else, you dress as the employer requires. The dress code should be followed by all cultures. Here's the thing. Now, again, Karen, thank you for mentioning that, because sometimes the conversation can get real crazy because we're talking about GOP, we're talking about the culture wars and whatnot. What if the Democrats had said something to Justin Pearson and said, please don't wear that? What would have happened if that was the case? But I'm with you there, Karen, that if you signed up, see, when we sign up for jobs, when we get certain roles and positions, we signing up for everything. We're signing up that we're going to follow their rules. We're signing on for the fact that we're going to be a representative of that institution, of that company, right? We're signing up we're signing on to all of these things. It's not just like, oh, I get a job and I get to do what the hell I want to. No, you sign on to how you use your time, what time you come in, what time you clock out, when you have your lunch, if you have that type of job. You sign in for working on weekends, you're working on nights, working on holidays. You sign up for this. You can't sign on for something and be like, man, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. I know that's culturally, that's how we like to do. Man, they got me working on weekends. Well, you should have known that your job requires you to work on weekends. So you're absolutely right. I think that's the part. Is it about the rules, or is it about the personalities and the emotions behind the personality? Because again, say it was black people that said to him, hey, Justin, bro, I understand you, brother. You just coming in, but here we like to represent in a suit and tie. Would you be mad? He might have had that conversation with some older black men in the state legislature down in Tennessee. But would you be mad for pulling him up about it? I don't know. Damon, my brother, you say I'm one of the older ones in the culture crew. I have no problem of him wearing a dashiki. With that, they make these rules to keep us from wearing these cultural items and etc. I get it. And I know, Damon, you are an engineer. I don't know what type of dress code is required for the spaces that you're in, but I'm sure you talk to your son, your 18-year-old son, tell him about rules and regulations and dress codes, and that if he decides to step outside of those things, right, then be prepared for the consequences. Like, it's okay, fine. You want to push the envelope? That's certainly fine. Just know that there are going to be some consequences for your actions. So that's the other thing. Just to throw out there another situation as it relates to this, the lawmakers in the Missouri House of Representatives in January, they adopted a stricter dress code for women as part of a new rules package, and now requires them to cover their shoulders by wearing a jacket like a blazer, cardigan, knit blazer. This is something that CNN reported on, but they have a dress code package because I bet you it's coming out of a space where people feel like their individuality is being denied, right? And that's often what we find ourselves, right? A lot of times we push back on rules and regulations because we don't want to. We feel like, look, this is my individual expression. This is who I am. All of those things. But again, folks, when you come in, you gotta figure out whether that's the situation. That's the situation. Look, I got to take a quick pause. I appreciate y'all for checking in and being a part of the conversation. Hopefully, and I'm going to keep my eyes on this, I wonder how they're going to play this thing out. Are they going to revise the rules for the dress code or what? We will have to see. Look, I got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to have our sister Alicia Holmes to check in to talk about how she is doing her part to getting Black women in particular in a space of financial freedom and so much more. We'll be checking in with the wealth whisperer herself, Alicia Holmes. So stay with us. That conversation comes up next here on The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
You
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Our next conversation is with the wealth whisperer herself, Miss Alicia Holmes, and she's going to talk to us about an opportunity for women of color to take advantage of where they can possibly go into a space of financial freedom, folks. And I'm very, very excited to have my sister back on. So let's welcome now the wealth whisperer, Alicia Holmes. Alicia, thank you so much for joining me again here on The Culture. How are you this afternoon?
I'm great. I had so much fun the last time I was here.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, Alicia, all right, before we jump into this, I'm interested to get your take.
Okay.
We had this segment, this is the first segment, talking about wearing dashikis on the house floor on government spaces. Mm-hmm. You actually work in, not only are you a financial wealth building expert, but you also do business coaching, and you work with a lot of different women in small and big companies. What's your take on it, especially now, given there is an emergence of individual expression and cultural expression from Black and brown folks in this country?
Yeah, this is a very nuanced conversation, and I was listening in. I don't know much about it. I go on what I call news fast. Sometimes.
Oh yeah. To get my but it's just essentially a young black man wore dashiki. He's a state representative in the state of Tennessee. Okay, and he's a Democrat. The Republicans are saying you can't wear dashiki while on the state house floor, while handling government business. We have a dress code. We have rules and regulations. Now, if you want to push back on all these rules and regulations that were established in a bipartisan manner, then you might need to find yourself a different career.
Okay. So just from a cursory perspective, I don't know the whole, from a cursory
I get you.
perspective, if there is a dress code and there's not some gender or cultural biases in that dress code, and it is standardized for everyone, I think it's legit to have dress codes. But how much of this is influenced by gendered or racial biases in what you consider to be appropriate? And so when I look at things like this, I like to go a little deeper and say, okay, what is this dress code even about? Why does it exist? Is it here to standardize things in a way so that people's dress are not a distraction from, the larger issues and what we need to pay attention to here? Or should there even be more diversity in what we consider a appropriate code of dress? Because maybe it comes from standards and its history is full of biases. So from a cursory perspective, I need to know a little more. That would be my take on it. I always like to dig a little deeper into like, what is this code about?
And that's a very mature way of looking at it. And folks, I will tell you that we did post a poll on our YouTube chat that you can join in. We asked the question, was State Representative Justin Pearson Dashiki inappropriate? So as we have the show and have different conversations, definitely check us out in the poll and we'll share those results at the end. But I'm glad that you mentioned that because it requires us to think a little bit deeper. And one of the things that, Alicia, is I know that the work that you're doing is getting us into spaces, right, where we are more strategic about getting into certain spaces, whether it's in the business space, whether it's school, whether it's government. Like we there has to be some strategy on how to get there, right? Absolutely. And I think one of the big things, especially for the next generation, that, you know, I feel like I can serve as a bridge for, and I've always thought this, like, okay, I'm not this age, but I'm not this age. So I'm like in between. Right. Is that helping young people to refine their strategy to get the maximum result, to get the best thing that out of the situation, right? And I feel like that's part of the work that you're doing, right? Absolutely. You know what I mean? There's a strategy on wealth building. There's a strategy on establishing business and getting to a level of financial freedom. But sometimes, you know, we just like to jump to the end. You know what I mean? Get to the end of the story, Alicia. Let's get to the end. Okay. You want me to save and all that stuff and change my behavior, but when am I going to get $10,000 at the end of the month?
Okay. No, we want to go way past 10K. We want to build businesses that are $1 trillion businesses that's setting up the future of where things are going in this industrial revolution. We want to be creating that. We want our children to see themselves as builders and creators in this fifth industrial revolution where we are right now. I'm so glad you started here. We're in a very interesting time. We know we're in this recession, but we're also at the beginning of this fifth industrial revolution. If we're paying attention to what's happening right now with artificial intelligence, quantum computing, digital currency, and we can't even call it digital currency because it really is currency now sitting on the blockchain, which is really programmable money that you can actually set rules around, which is a whole different world and dynamic, which is literally what cryptocurrency is. But we're talking about everything: healthcare, education, agriculture, transportation. Everything is changing and changing rapidly. And you started this with talking about our children, our children being prepared to be the ones building and shaping this world, this shifting world that we're living in right now. And investing.
That's a big question. I mean, I have a 9-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, Alicia. And every day, you know, I think about what the world is going to look like in the next 5 years and what the world is going to look like in the next 10 years once my son gets of age to do certain things, right? So I think that's I think that's the hard part, especially if you are a Black parent.
Right.
If you have Black children, or if you're a Black grandmother, Black grandfather, or you taking care of some babies or some young adults, right?
Absolutely.
That's I think that's like at the top of mind for a lot of folks in this country. It's like, what world should we expect?
You know, what I am saying right now
is
we need to be shaping this world. We need to be involved in understanding and learning. And just as an aside, you know, I have 2 grown daughters, and for a time period when they were young. They were very young. I had them in kind of elite private schools, and the way children interacted with technology and the way that they were encouraged to interact with the technology was so different. They were not just like passive users of it. It was an environment that was always encouraging them, creating all kinds of tools and initiatives. And I saw some of the things that, that they did that came out of that environment. That's a little bit of an aside, but it's a different mindset to see yourself as the person who I'm understanding this, I'm building it, and I'm shaping it. And I'm a real proponent right now for us seeing ourselves doing just that. And I know in some ways, like this is a bigger conversation, but I want to share that during COVID in 2020, when COVID hit, I'm very interested in innovation. I've been looking at it for decades when I was, in my early 20s and investing in it, and the way it shapes our lives. So I started an innovation investing study group, and we all read a book called The Future is Faster Than You Think. And I had as many as 120 women coming every week reading this book. And then I said, I'm not doing all the work. And they had to do presentations on the future of education, the future of healthcare, artificial and augmented reality, the metaverse. I mean, this was in 2020 when people had time on their hands. And the way everyone was being so expansive, when I said I wasn't doing all the work, they had to do presentations. So I have I don't know how many presentations every week, another woman that was just researching. And we're brilliant when we attack something.
Right.
And the effect that has on the conversation with their children, grandchildren. There was some grandmas in there who were doing amazing work with their children, their grandchildren, the conversations with their communities. A lot of these women really got opened up to Web3 and are playing very powerfully in the space with setting up decentralized autonomous organizations and NFTs and cryptocurrency and all of those things. And what I love about it is I'm talking to women who smart, work hard, come home every day, have children. I feel like very often women, and particularly women of color, are just ignored. Nobody is talking to us about these things and saying, this is important for you to know. And just expand it, are now having new job careers, going to events they never saw, conferences all over the world because of this. And so first we have to start with ourselves and expand, and then expand with our children, the people close to us and around us in our communities. Because I read this, and I want to say this, that right now, the biggest shift in generational wealth in history is being made right now by understanding some of the things that I'm talking about right now. We have to understand artificial intelligence, what impact that is having. The robots who are being powered by artificial intelligence, who are taking over all kinds of jobs. And then we have Chat GPT, and then Google is coming out with its own version. And the capacity, if you play with this stuff, what you can do and create, and the brilliance, the information that is coming out of it. And, the future predictions, this artificial intelligence being able to do just everything that a human can do. So I can't stress enough that it's early enough still for us to see ourselves let me learn more about this. Let me sit at the door. Let me be in conversation. What kind of future and jobs, software engineers are now, developers, engineers are making $1 million a year. I know a kid personally who's a friend of my daughter's that are literally, this is how valuable these skills are. Our children being prepared to be a part of shaping that? Are we prepared? Are we in the conversations? Are we understanding what's happening right now?
Lisa, let me put you on pause because we got to take a quick pause. But when we come forward, I want us to kind of delve a little deeper in that. And I do have a couple of questions about that, especially when we're seeing there's so much advancement on the technology side in the scientific space. There's so much advancements in terms of innovation, but then yet when we're looking at the human being, I'm talking about how we think, how we behave. When we study human behavior, decision making, the science and art and skill of understanding those social sciences, right? As it relates to, as much as there is all of these advancements, there's something that is holding us back as human beings, where we're fundamentally are suffering from some sort of as they call it, aberrations, aberrations, where we're still not mentally seeing each other as human beings. We can relate better to technology than we can to other human beings. So there's a lot of conversation about how do we prepare our children and ourselves for this fast growth, while at the same time staying human and understanding the humanity of other people. So I want us to kind of dig deep.
I got the answer. I know we got to take a break.
All right, I got to take a quick pause. Checking in with the wealth whisperer, Alicia Holmes. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. She got a 5-day free workshop that is going to be happening for women of color for financial freedom. Folks, we got a lot to talk about, so stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back. We have been talking to the wealth whisperer, Miss Alicia Holmes, and she's been giving us some insight and laying out the foundation for financial freedom and why it's important that women of color and men across the country and around the world, why it's important for us to get into a better space, not just with our finances, but also with how we see each other. And of course, with the big ideas, as we are in the age of information. And she's going to talk to us about an opportunity, a 5-day opportunity that she's hosting and presenting as part of the solution. So I want to bring her back into the frame, Alicia. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. But you were kind of, now you really touching my heart and my spirit right now, Alicia, because you're talking about things in terms of preparation or preparing our children for this future. Right, this very real future where technology is moving forward. There are a lot of innovations in various spaces, and so you're asking a very pivotal question: will we be prepared? My only one of the big concerns that I have is that we are living in a time and in a space and in a culture where things are moving way fast. Like, everything that we thought was is no longer is, that type of thing, right? but everything is moving fast except the development of the human being.
So
it seems like we're getting, and I'm saying as human beings, seeing each other's humanity, being compassionate, the fundamentals of what it means to be a human being is slowly being diminished or being overlooked. It's all about, what's on the outside of us. But what about doing the great work? What about the growth and the cultivation of us on the inside? So that way, when we get, our hands, or when we are exposed to technology, we don't use those things for nefarious purposes. It's like how do we grow in that space as well? I'm fine with technology growing. We're in AI, metaverse. We got all of these different innovations. But if you have a messed up human being who is designing these products, or you have a messed up human being that is using these products to take advantage of other human beings, then is it really a technological benefit? Is it a scientific breakthrough when human beings are still being denied their own humanity?
Okay. So there's so much I could say to this.
I know. Well, we're just talking. This is talking. No, I'm saying it's like we're just talking. This is part of the culture, right? Because we often we're in a time where people are looking for stuff on the outside, and it's like we may have to slow down a little bit. Like, the world is moving faster, but as Black folks and as brown folks, as folks that are whose roots are in whose roots are in nature, who are rooted in the universe, like that's not the pace that we should be working at, or I don't think we should be working at, right? Like we can't keep up with that pace because we're denying ourselves in the process, or rather negating ourselves in the process.
Oh my God, you always leave so many things just rushing through my head about everything.
I know. So I'm so sorry.
So one of the things I would say is we can't see ourselves as passively just receiving all of this technology that we feel that is lacking the humanity that we'd like to see as a part of the technology. So when I say that we need to be a part of shaping it, technology doesn't have to look the way it looks. Right now, it's being designed by very few people with a lot of power. And the thing about this industrial revolution is that there are not a whole lot of barriers to entry that they were in other industrial revolutions. And every industrial revolution has some conversation about things are moving too fast. What's going to happen to all of the ways that things happened in the past? But you know what? You move forward, things change, and then you set up rules based upon those changes. So, the invent of automobiles and, that put the horse and buggy out of business. And, and people were like, the exercise, the telephone, how that, put couriers of the time out of business. And, and then you had, once these things were in place, you created new dynamics around it. So what I want to say right now, in the fifth industrial revolution, that's what we're in. There are very few people shaping it. We act like we have to passively receive these technologies. No, we get to get in there and be the engineers and be the designers and have our children see themselves as, we're going to be the engineers, the designers, the creators of new ecosystems that will shape it.
But how do we get there?
So that it's not going in the direction. If we don't like the direction it's going to, we have to be more involved. So how do we get there? First, it's a mindset shift. And that mindset shift looks like us seeing our own power here. And us understanding we're in the information age and knowledge is power like never before.
Right.
Those ladies, when we were reading that book and looking at what's happening in biotech, when we were looking at flying cars and we're looking at 3D printing of homes, and we could be strategically thinking about our input, the companies we can build that will change the outcomes for our community and give access to our children and all of those things. And so it starts with fundamentally a mindset shift, which is why I have the program that I have coming up, and I'll talk about that.
And we'll talk about that in a minute, because
yes.
I'm glad that you bring that up. It's a mindset shift that is going to be required by parents and children, by all of us, right? But you got a lot of people that are pushing back on this, man, because as much as we can talk about the future is now, we've also been conditioned to believe that the future is in someone else's hands.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about it. I got to take another pause, but when we come back, I want us to talk about it. Folks, stay with us. We still got a lot more. We're chopping it up with the Wealth Whisperer, Alicia Holmes, and of course with you. Post your comments in the chat, and let's continue to have the conversation right here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back. We've been talking to Alicia Holmes, who is a wellness expert. She's the Wealth Whisperer, and she's putting together an opportunity for women of color, for Black women, women from various communities to embark upon. This is a 5-day challenge that she's putting out there, and we're going to talk to her a little bit more about this opportunity called Seducing Abundance on Your Journey to Wealth, a 5-day challenge to propel women of color into a world of self-discovery and financial freedom. And let me just say, folks, I enjoy having conversations like this, especially with my sister Alicia, because we tend to believe that stuff is on the outside, that we're going to change our money behavior, our spending habits, and all of those things. That's what's going to naturally change, like it's just going to happen overnight based on some magic genie. But it's about a mindset. And Alicia, that's the point that you brought up. It is really about a mindset. There has to be a shift in mindset. And as I'm listening to you, sis, and I appreciate you for being big in your thinking. You know what I mean? Like, I'm serious, right? Because we can have conversations about, okay, make sure you put some savings away. Make sure you know what I mean? If you want to invest in a 401k, I mean, a lot. Look, let me tell you, the folks that watch this show, my culture crew, they are highly intelligent people. These are, they're scholars and professors and engineers. These are professional people. We got folks that work in various industries watching this show. So they've heard that. We've all heard this stuff. The reason that you're in business is not because of we don't know how to create a savings account. But the reason is because what is the thinking that goes along with creating the savings account? Or what is the thinking, like, what is your vision? What is your plan? And I think that's where we're talking about, like, financial planners like yourself and others. That's where y'all help us to fill in the gap, right? Because there are so many competing interests on our time and our money, right? That at the end of the day, it's like, you get a lump sum of money, and next thing you know, you just all of a sudden bills, this happened. I gotta put out this financial fire, blah, blah, blah. And you're not thinking about the longevity of the moment. You're not thinking about all of these, you're not thinking about the economy of ideas. I mean, that's where we in. You started off this conversation saying we need to be creators.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I just recently was doing some reading, Alicia, and they said in this age of information, as you call it, the fifth industrial revolution, currency right now is not the little paper notes that we got. The real currency is the currency of ideas.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, that's the currency we on. And this is why I think it's important for us to have this conversation the way we're having, because they're attacking, and I'm saying they, and this could be whether, I'm not just talking about white people, I'm talking about anybody that is closing out the light of truth in this day and time. That could be black or white people. Anybody that is that is trying to keep us in a dumbed down position, right? They always want us to be watching somebody else instead of thinking about ourselves. They always want us to be focused of spending our money with somebody else instead of investing in ourselves. Like, if that's the time that we're living in, and that's why we're seeing the situation we see with the school systems, there's an uprising, there's a revolt that's happening in that space. We're seeing the revolt that's happening in the business space, where you see more black women have started businesses since the pandemic started than any other group of people in this country. All of these things are happening because I think essentially people are trying to figure out, like, how do I become a more productive human being? And how do I make sure that I'm producing children that have the ideas to produce the future that we want them to have? Am I on the right track here, Alicia?
No, absolutely. And, I do want to go back to, you talked about the inner work. So I'm very holistic in my approach to this, because I know that I have a friend who says the inner work makes the outer work. And so you'll see for my 5-day event, it says self-discovery, because now more than ever, we need to do the inner work so that anything, these conversations about lack and limited beliefs at all, we need to get that stuff out of the way so we can play a more powerful game. Because if there was ever a time in history where we can enter, play, and win and create ecosystems and economic ecosystems, strategies, and use technology in ways that really could shape opportunities that were unthought of before for our communities, the time is now. But really and truly, it's about doing the inner work. One of the first things I do, I have a boot camp roadmap to like an abundant mindset, and then the tactics and tools in our culture, what you need to know in order to build wealth. But most of the work is the mindset work. Work. It is like how you feel about yourself. And there's a lot that we get as people of color, as Black and brown people, as Black and brown women, as Black and brown children, that we really need to disrupt those conversations first and foremost.
Right.
So something like Heal Your Relationship with Money. It's a great book that I have. It's 28 days of journaling. Like,
wait, what's the book called again, Alicia?
It's called Heal Your Relationship with Money by Cara Stevens. I spoke with her on the phone. I'm like, your book, like, I use it all the time. I have women do these 28 days of journaling so they can have the stuff that needs to come up, out, work on it, and deal with it. I work with another sister, Shawnee Gibson, who also has something called Be the Tree. It is a rites of passage for women, mostly women of color. And like the women who do her program, when they come, they're really ready. Now they're ready to get rid of, to all of the limiting beliefs and what's possible, because we pass that stuff on to our children. And culturally, no group has been systemically institutionally challenged as we have. And that has affected us. And we need to clean a lot of that stuff away. And now more than ever, because we have the opportunity in this fifth industrial revolution to build in ways that can change our lives. Now, it's hard to wrap your head around this, which is why I started that study group in 2020, because everybody left so expanded. But what I can leave you with about that is, do your research. Let's use our screen time powerfully to understand this. There's someone I follow on Instagram, and I saw him speak at the Black Women Talk Tech conference. It's called The Tall Guy. The tall guy, I can't think of his whole name. And follow him on Instagram because he is dropping so much knowledge and science. Like, I have resources, and I want to share those resources with people because these are all important for us to grow and develop. And we have to do that inner work. I'm doing my inner work. I'm meditating. I find some of the scientists who are playing with quantum physics and explaining certain spiritual, what we consider spiritual phenomenon. I follow Joe Dispenza's work. I think the way he's using science to explain how we actually are creators and shape the world that we have in front of us, and it's giving us access back to our power. Like, study, like, this is the time to just get the information that you need to be able to make good choices for yourself, for your children, for your family, and for generations to come.
Big moment. All right, I want to make sure we get some, we got a couple of moments left in this part of the segment, but I want to make sure we do put out some of the logistics around this 5-day challenge. And folks, I want you to join us in the conversation, please. I know that some of you are taking in this information and just kind of feeding on it, but join us and share your thoughts and your comments with us. Post in the chat on YouTube, especially and on Facebook and on Black Star Network as we have this conversation with Alicia. But let's talk about this 5-day challenge. What was the inspiration? See, I could talk to you all day, Alicia. That's a damn problem. So, me and you would be going out in space.
Yes.
Coming back down and pick a couple of people up, go right back up.
Yes, I'm very interested in that. Oh my God.
Talk to us about this 5-day challenge of seducing abundance.
So, I really wanted to get into that field for women of desires and pulling abundance in, not like from the masculine penetrating, but having it receiving, being receptive. And so this challenge, over the years, I have met phenomenal women doing amazing work in the world. Many are so successful, but so heart-centered. And so I curated some women to come and speak to other women about all of it. So the first 3 days, I call setting the fertile ground for abundance. And so the first day I have great speakers, Hazel Ortega, who wrote From Bounce Checks to Private Jets, telling her story. She is the mastery of miracles, and she's such an inspiration about dreaming big, manifesting. It's all possible for you, no matter where you came from. And she's speaking with Jay Nicole, who is like, Black women, let's do it. Let's manifest and live our big dreams and live our lives. And then I go on the second day to talk about self-care. That's a big issue for us as women of color. Like, taking care of ourselves. We take care of so many people. And the women I have speaking is not talking about it on some cursory level. I'm talking about on a real deep level. What do we do as women to really take care of ourselves so we can take care of others? And then the third day, I have a conversation about the power of sisterhood and community and building together and how that strengthens entire communities and entire families and how important that is. And I have two amazing women, Shawnee again Gibson. I have Kira from the Traveling Diaries tour, who literally during COVID decided to do a traveling diary, to take diaries, have women write their heartfelt sharing on 3 pages, make a copy, pass it on to the next woman. Now it's in over 30 countries, and women are really from on a ground level, like sharing with each other and how the power of that. And then on day 4 and 5 is when I really get into investing. 2 amazing women talking about what is the 5th Industrial Revolution. They could talk about it like no one else. Why women need to participate, why we need to invest in it, and why we need to build in it. Jatali Bellaton, who is a dear friend of mine also, and Shalita Burke. And if you look at either one of these women and what they're doing in the world so powerfully, sisters, powerfully investing, building in this world. And then on Friday, I have a sister talking about venture capitalists pre-seed funding, getting in early, understanding. She's focused on companies that are building out the future. As women, very often, like investing that early in companies, what does that even look like? We're not even in a conversation. And then I have Mina Black talking about all of the different options and ways we can invest. You think when something goes on Broadway, there's not investors? How about investing in theater, art, collectibles, all of the ways that we can invest, real estate initiatives? These 4 women who are talking about investing are some powerful women and powerful investors. And I just wanted to bring everybody together.
Right.
Fertile ground, investing. The women who are talking about fertile ground are very much very successful entrepreneurs themselves, and just bring women together to be in a powerful conversation. Because remember, the biggest shift in generational wealth in history is happening now from the choices that we're making right now. To be in this conversation, we're in many conversations. Let's be in this one.
That's absolutely facts. Absolute facts. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation with the wealth whisperer, Alicia Holmes, and of course with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Folks, welcome back to the show. We've been having a very, very insightful conversation with the wealth whisperer, Alicia Holmes, who's talking about how we can seduce abundance. And this is part of her work of creating a 5-day free online set of workshops. Here it is, to propel women of color into a world of self-discovery and financial freedoms. And if you've been listening to Alicia, you can hear that it's just not about dollars and cents, folks. It's about how we think. It's about the environment and the space that we find ourselves in. It's about the culture and how to maximize not just our wallets and our profits, but it's about how to maximize our productivity, how to maximize our thinking. And we got a few more minutes left with Alicia this afternoon, and I'm so grateful for my sister for coming on and talking about the work that she's doing, because there's a couple of folks in the crew that are like my sister Lana, one of our loyal watchers. She said, sister is connecting physics and spirit into the conversation about money. And a lot of Black women that I'm seeing on the chat are saying, like, this is a different conversation. This is a conversation that's taken us outside of the traditional boundaries of the system. And I think that for Black people in this country, I think that's important, and it, for you, Alicia, as a woman who's bringing all of these wonderful Black minds, these wonderful women of color to come together, is this about us becoming capitalists in blackface? And here's why I'm asking that question, because I see that quite often. We get mad about capitalism as is expressed by white people in this country, because we are not the recipients of that. We're the burdens of and we're the burden bearers of that, right? But then when I hear Black folks talking about we need to get money, we need to build wealth, it's like I don't want to build wealth so I can be a capitalist, quote unquote, right? Or just somebody that's like, oh, I just want to get money and then I'm out of my current state so I can live high on a hog, sit on top of the hill and talk about the greatness of my business and my wealth. There has to be a whole different model of how we see wealth. And I'm glad that you brought up those books, Healing Our Relationship with Wealth. I got to check that out, and some of these other resources, because if we're going to talk about money, let's talk about it in the nature of who we are. That by nature, we are a communal people. By nature, when we eat, somebody else is eating. You know what I'm saying? By nature, we are setting up opportunities and setting up resources, and we are helping to build the community. It's nothing wrong with you getting money, but when you become a hoard you start hoarding all that money in for yourself and not spreading the love, as they say. Now you become, it becomes a different conversation, especially for us. So what would you say is, the best way to look at, or what's the metric that we should use when we're talking about wealth building, especially for Black people?
So I often the conversation is wealth and impact. And we really, knowing our history, for so many years now, I have a series of slides that are like trivia about who, like Black women, the things that we've done in history. Is it Poro College? My memory with the names. I'm just going to talk about the things when we build things, things for community. This college that was used to teach women how to sell hair products, do hair, how she encouraged everyone. I'm trying to think of her name, she gave incentives for them to purchase homes because she knew that them purchasing homes would set them up for future generations, and how she was such a huge philanthropist, giving away so much of her money. And so Annie Malone. And then the woman who was one of the first women in this country to start a bank. And it was around seeing how poorly we were constantly being treated, and how the institution really supported communities of color. I think she also created the way we were being treated when we went to stores. So she created some strip malls, and just like it was all community, and how philanthropy, giving back. The woman who was one of the few women a part of the Colorado Gold Rush, how like she scrubbed, she was like took care of the men's dirty clothes and everything. And through her laundry service, she bought gold mines, and then how she helped free slaves, and then created a church and created organizations. And again, huge philanthropist. I could actually go on and on. All of a woman in California, about when we just to have the spirit of our community and impact, when understand our history, first of all, and like how powerful we are, and that how we use our wealth to have impact for our community. So I'm in a wealth and impact conversation.
I love it.
Because when we do better, we encourage others in our community to do better, and we'll all do better. We'll have the power that we don't have right now. It is a community effort here. And so
and Alicia, I have to say, we got a few moments left, but I have to say that, individuals like you, when I listen to my sister Deborah Owens from Get Wealthy, she has a show here on Black Star Network. When I listen to Black women in particular talking about building wealth, doing what we can to build the wealth, to create the impact that we want to see, it's like we need y'all at the table to create a different economic paradigm. I'm being ultra serious and super real about this, Alicia. We need a different economic paradigm in this country, because I'm personally tired of, from the small things to concert tickets to the big things of the national debt. You know what I'm saying? Like the relationship that we have with money in this country is so influenced by white supremacy, is so influenced by, our inferiority, is so influenced by seeing people as just as just pieces of a machine versus seeing them for the full investment of their potential and their talent. We need an economic paradigm shift in this country. And I can tell from you, from other women and other men, it's right there. Like we're right there.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I love what you're saying. This is the greatest period, because we often talk about politics on this show and in our spaces. And it's like, at what point do you just say enough is enough, walk on faith, and you start to build a different path to economic freedom? What point do you start to say, you know what? I'm going to reject the way that this system has taught me to handle money. I'm going to reject how the relationship that I've had with money based upon failed thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to reject all of this. Like, I'm ready for something new. I know my crew is ready for something new. We're yearning, Alicia, for something new.
Absolutely. Now is the time. We can build organizations like never before. I am partnering with some women from my Journey to Wealth Women in Action community, and we're starting an organization called the Disruptor DAO. A DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. It is the future of how we're going to organize ourselves. And I always say, we're not entering this game at the 11th hour. This is the new way that that organizations are organizing themselves, creating ecosystems with a cooperative economics perspective, and building a community of people, businesses and services and industries in a way that we haven't thought about before, because it's possible. Technology is actually making a lot of things really possible right now. And so to just play and dreaming big a little more and seeing the potential for us to really shape our world in ways that we never thought that we could before.
Absolutely.
It's possible now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. All right, Alicia, we got like a minute or so left. How can people sign up for this free 5-day challenge you got, Seducing Abundance? I love it. You got to seduce abundance.
Yes.
Come here, abundance. Get your fine self over here.
So it's actually seducingabundance.com. Yeah, it's a free 5-day event. If you wanted to, you can, for a nominal cost, you can purchase the replays, but it is a free 5-day event. You will hear some amazing, like-minded women talking about all of the ways that we can start to shape our thinking so that we're building wealth.
Hold on, let me just, Keenan, just scroll back down. I want people to see the full. Look at the ladies that you got here, the expert panel here. I mean, you got Hazel and Nicole and Shawnee and Lisa. Oh my gosh. Come on now. This is heavy right now.
Yes. We have to do this, ladies. We all have to do this, but we know when women in a community are strong, like there's something that it does to the whole community. There's something that it does for our children. And when we're powerful from an abundance and wealth perspective, because remember, like in this culture, you're usually either a consumer, where every resource that is coming in is building other people's wealth, or you're an investor where the resources that are coming in are able to build the wealth that you need to have the impact that you want in your life, your family life, your community, and the things that are important to you. So there's a lot that we receive that encourages us to just be consumers. And all that is doing, every dollar that comes in when you're a consumer, it's just all going out. It's all building other people's wealth. And so it's a shift, a mindset shift again, for you to see yourself as an investor, to see yourself with abundance, building wealth, and having impact.
That is. And the website again is seducingabundance.com, correct?
Yes, that is it.
Seducing. And look, I love when you're talking about seeing yourself from a consumer to an investor, the first thing that came to my mind, Alicia, is like you can either see yourself at the table or on the menu.
I love it. Yes.
We either got a seat at the table or somebody's eating you up, bro. You're on the menu. Your interest is being eaten up, or you on the menu. Yes. My sister Alicia Holmes, the Wealth Whisperer.
Yes,
I appreciate
it is always
you so
great.
much.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you.
Well, anytime. Again, folks, this is the Wealth Whisperer, Alicia Holmes. She's doing a fantastic job trying to get us to financial freedom, not just in terms of money, but also in mindset. And make sure y'all check out seducingabundance.com on your journey to wealth, a free 5-day challenge to propel women of color into a world of self-discovery and financial freedom. Awesome lineup, expert panel of dynamic women that can talk about taking everything that you're doing in your life to the next level. Folks, don't be on the menu. Just be at the table. Alicia, thank you so much for being so good for the culture. I truly appreciate you, and certainly we'll bring you back on.
Okay, thank you so much. It's
absolutely. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to check in with Dr. Larry Walker to talk about this situation that the White House is doing. They're going to be hosting a screening of the movie Till, and we're going to talk about the significance of that, especially in a post-Obama era. Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
we're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Folks, welcome back to the Culture here on the Black Star Network. For our final conversation, I wanted to have a discussion about something that's going to be happening at the White House tomorrow, where the Biden administration will be hosting a special screening of the movie Till. Now, this was the movie that came out last year, in December of last year, talking about the story of Mamie Till, the mother of Emmett Till, talking about her side of the story as to what she had to endure and what decisions she had to make as it relates to the great tragedy of that brutal beating and killing of her son, Emmett Till. And even though the movie was snubbed for Oscar consideration, many people found that movie to be very helpful in telling that part of our history. Now, the president has been vocal about his take on racial issues, right? And he has even gone as far as to sign the Anti-Lynching Act last year in the name of Emmett Till. So I wanted to have a conversation about the cultural significance of the president having a special screening like this, because, you know, I can't stop thinking about what my brother said yesterday, Dr. Jason Nichols, who said that this president was the most progressive president that he has seen in his lifetime. A young black man saying that. And I'm wondering, is he on to something? Let me welcome now Dr. Larry J. Walker. Dr. Walker, who's been seen on RMU, and here to give us some insight as to what we're seeing right now with Biden and race in this country. Doc, good to talk to you, brother. How are you this afternoon?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What do do you make of this? And I quoted my brother, Dr. Jason Nichols, saying that he really said it. He was like, yep, Biden went from one end of the spectrum in some cases to this other end, signing off on some of the most racially justice pieces of legislation. He's putting, he's showing that he is growing in some ways, that he is progressive and far progressive than his predecessors. And now we got a showing of a movie about Emmett Till at the White House. I'm no shade to President Obama.
Obama wasn't doing that, huh?
I don't know if this is Joe Biden's way of saying, hey, black people, I see you, or what. But what do we make about this? This is pretty interesting, Doc.
It is interesting. So I think you got to give credit. Look, I'm a former congressional staffer. And so Biden is what I've said to people. He's an institutionalist. And that's been part of some of the problems sometimes. Right. He's old school. He's been around for decades. And listen, he's more historically he's a moderate Democrat, historically. But I got to agree with you 110%. He has really progressed a lot since, and I maybe argue, obviously, even when he was running for president, in terms of what he said he was going to name as a black woman, which he did. He would and then select a black woman to be the first Supreme Court justice, and then obviously she was confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So, but Joe Biden really is, he had surprised me. I have to be frank with you. And I think that what some is important is the role of black women.
Right.
This is critical. And I think people don't give VP Harris enough credit. First of all, the job of the VP is to kind of be in the background. But while she's in the background, she's still advising them and giving them feedback. And so what does this signify in terms of the White House showing Till tomorrow night? This is going to amplify the movie. And you talked about it. I agree with you, obviously, in terms of Oscar snubs. And to be frank, as black folks, we're used to this every year, being snubbed for movies that are historically accurate and talk about tragic issues. But the fact that he's having this at the White House would mean the New York Times, CNN, MSC, Fox, everyone else is going to cover it to some extent. And once again, it goes to the point about amplifying his tragic murder and the fact in terms of what even happened in terms of the trial, but remembering also in terms of what we see in the continuous killing of black men at the hands of law enforcement. And also we continue to see these videos of black folks being profiled by, Tom, Dick, and Harry walking down the street, and black folks are looking at birds or in their house or order McDonald's or whatever else we doing to black folks that people always have a problem with. So I would say he's come a long way on issues like this.
He has come a long way. Now, here's the thing, Doc. My thinking is, how do we, as the constituents, I mean, you worked in administrations, congressional staffers, you understand the dynamics of putting something out there to the public and the impact that it has coming back in. But for the constituents, what are the proper metrics that we should use or can use to determine whether something is political theater, performative, versus if it's legitimate?
So let's be clear, because I work for a politician, or politicians think you're right. This is political. Anytime you screen a black film at the White House, especially a black film that is the murder of a black child, it is it is political. And let's keep in mind that we have an election coming up next year. And also he needs the black vote, particularly, like I said, we already know what the numbers in terms of how black women come out. But this is political theater, but is a political theater for a purpose. Now, listen, he could have, there are a number of movies he could have screened, but what it allows him to do is connect policy and purpose. So he signed the anti-lynching law in the name of Emmett Till, which I'm going to highlight that Rand Paul held up for a long time. I just want to highlight that because it's really important to talk about that. But the fact that he actually signed legislation connects policy and purpose. So the policy was signing the bill. The purpose is we're amplifying it at the White House, having this event. We're inviting all these people, and then I'm going to talk about it. And then so over the next couple of months, as he's running for president and he goes into black communities, he can say, I'm the first president to sign this legislation,
right?
Policy. And then the purpose is I amplified it at the White House.
So do we play a role in making things political? Because when the president does, and I'm saying any president, right? But let's use Biden as an example. Anytime the president does something for another group of people, and then it comes back to us, we're like, well, what about us, right? So we kind of put him in a space where it has to be political, right? Like it has to be a big deal when he does something for Black people. Is that our fault?
No, because that's the nature of politics, and especially for those who like myself, others who live within the Beltway, right? This is how the game goes. And so for Black folks, we're also, in terms of when it comes to other racial ethnic groups, we're constantly putting the foot on the pedal, and we're constantly holding folks accountable. So listen, why President Biden has done a lot of great things in terms of nominating a number of, more than any other president, Black women to federal benches. There are times that we feel like we need to hold him accountable. We think he's not doing what's necessary, because once again, Black folks helped him get elected, particularly in states like Georgia's and other, Pennsylvania, my home state, etc. So, we make it political? We have to, because our lives are on the line. Let's be clear. Like this Anna Lynch bill is in the name of a Black boy that was murdered. So Black folks have to constantly pressure policymakers, particularly when we talk, like I'm a former congressional staffer of the CB and worked for a CBC member, particularly when we talk about the role of the CBC in maybe not pressuring necessarily publicly, but giving them a call, someone like Clyburn, giving them a call and saying, look, Joe, I think you need to do this.
Right. Now, how do you foresee this situation around the George Floyd Justice for Policing Act to go? Now there's been talk about it. I mean, I've had some voices on this show, Dr. Walker, where they're like, man, that's just a bunch of fluff. It doesn't still get to the heart of the matter, where you have local and state police departments that are really going to implement some of these important changes that's going to lead to better relationship between the Black community and the police department. Do you think that we should be hanging our hat on this particular bill?
So the George Floyd bill is critically important. It's not going to become law for the next anytime soon, at least not until we see what happens in 2024 with the House. So, I mean, let's be clear. Republicans are not supporting the George Floyd Policing Act. They're not. And to be frank, the bill should have been law prior to them taking the House, but we can talk about all the antics in the Senate if we like to, maybe in another conversation. But it's just not going to happen. The Republicans are not going to support it. And you see, if you look at, not even McCarthy, but Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of these other right-wingers just criticizing, they're talking about the Black National Anthem. I mean, you think they talking about the Black National Anthem, you think they're talking about comprehensive police reform. It is not happening from a policy standpoint. It doesn't mean the Biden administration can't continue to apply pressure. And as he gets out more in public and the campaign trail, can't talk about that. I support this legislation, but the folks in the House won't support it. And we need to remove them, have Democrats take it back to the House in 2024, hold on to the Senate, reelect me as president, and let's get this done.
So the reason I brought that up, Doc, is just because, the same way that we saw our little brother Emmett Till being brutally murdered, we're still kind of seeing that pattern, that behavior now in 2023, of course, with Tyree Nichols, that's at the hands of other Black men. I'm wondering, like, okay, so where's the change? Where's the light at the end of this tunnel?
So, I write about this in my research, a lot about racism, but we got to talk about white supremacy. And I know you talk about that on your show. Yeah. And we talk about even the recent murder in Tennessee, and obviously at the hands of several Black men, they bought into white supremacy. And so that we have to be able to have have these conversations about how white supremacy and anti-Blackness play out, even in, white supremacy, certainly anti-Blackness can play out in the Black community, because there are folks in our own community who view other Black folks as less than. I think what you saw in Tennessee, the murder in Tennessee, highlights that. But once again, we have to find ways to dismantle white supremacy overall.
Is this president the president that's going to take us to the next level? 2024 is around the corner. So, we've been having conversations like, what do Black America do if the Democratic Party said, 2024, Biden is going to be our guy. We don't know who the Republican may be. Maybe Trump and maybe DeSantis. We don't know. Do we care? But it's 2024. That's a big moment for Black America to make a very big decision. Which way do we go?
Yeah, it is. But let's be clear. We don't want to vote for anyone who espouses, anti-Black, slogans, or doesn't want Black folks talking about Black history, doesn't want Black folks talking about anything related to our history from now going back to 1619. So And let's be clear, Joe Biden, and like I said, more than anyone else, certainly the points I've offered critiques, but he's been far more progressive on some issues that I would have ever anticipated for someone, like I said, I describe him as an institution that's been around for years. You got to give him credit when credit is due. He's going to go down in history as the first president to get a Black woman confirmed to the U.S. Senate. That is historical in nature. And look, as we move to next year in the election, there's not much else he's going to get done, particularly when it comes to issues relating to civil rights that impact Black folks. Because, like I said earlier, Republicans in the House are just not going to have that. But also it highlights for Black folks why we need to get out in 2024. Because on the other side, you do not want some radical right winger in the White House. Because we already see what happens when it happens. I mean, what happens in terms of not only in terms of the violence against Black folks, Asian Pacific Islander communities, the Latinx community, etc. So we don't want anyone else in the White House who's going to be espousing all these anti-Black policies, which led to the January 6th insurrection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Larry J. Walker, who is an assistant professor at the University of Central Florida. Doc, we got to have you back on more times, brother, but I truly appreciate your analysis in this because I feel like, even with the president showing Till, there's still a lot of ground to cover. And with that recent move of making the presidential primaries, South Carolina being the first stop of the presidential primaries, I mean, what Biden doing? I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to position Black folks to get a little bit more piece of the pie, but we will have to see. You know what I mean? For me, the jury is still out, but to your point, you got to give credit where credit is due, and he's moving in a direction. Now, whether he's going to become the president for the next 4 years or somebody else on the Democratic ticket, that's going to be the real test of time. But we will have to see. Dr. Larry Walker, thank you so much, brother, for joining me here on The Culture.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely. Folks, we got to wrap up. That's it for us. I want to thank all of my voices here. I want to thank Alicia Holmes, Dr. Walker. I want to thank my team, Keenan, Joel, my control room, and I want to thank you. Thank you so much. Make sure, folks, that y'all do your due diligence. Make sure y'all check us out on blackstarnetwork.com. We are doing some phenomenal things that, Brother Roland has been out and about taking care of the business. And we have created shows and platforms. I mean, we're just getting higher and higher. And so your support means everything to us. Go to blackstarnetwork.com today. You can give financially to continue to support this movement. And you can also share the content. You say, I don't have any money to give, but I can certainly share the content. I can subscribe. I can tell my family and friends to subscribe. I can download the app for free. Let's do it all. Let's do it all. And let's keep pushing the envelope and certainly the conversations that impact us. So go to blackstarnetwork.com. Also follow us on all social media at Black Star Network on IG and Twitter as well. And while you're there, also follow me. Hit me up at Farajii Muhammad. I'm Farajii on Twitter, the real Farajii on IG. I would love to connect with you, and let's continue to build. And also, folks, if you did not know, Black Star Network is now on Amazon News. So if you have a Fire TV and you want to look for some great cultural conversations about news and information, go ahead. Just tell Alexa to play Black Star News, Black Star Network, and boom, here we come up. My face will come up. Roland's face will come up. Deborah Owens' face will pop up. You know what I'm saying? Tech Life Steph will come up. Man, everybody will come up. But that's what we're doing right now, and we're continuing to grow in so many places. So continue to support us. That's going to do it for us today, folks. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. And I will say that, God willing, next week, as we talk about Till, next week we're going to have the producer of Till joining us here on The Culture. So you can expect some great discussions with him and with the team of Till. So that's coming up next week. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great afternoon and evening. Peace.